welcome. I need to put a transition there. And welcome to the first, only, has ever been live bi-weekly archaeology talk show hosted by four archaeologists that I know of, and a cat, and sometimes another cat, on YouTube, normally on Thursdays. This bit's going to go longer and longer as we go along. So welcome. Welcome, as you can see, with our special Tuesday edition, since we had the Ronald Plague hit us last Thursday. We are on a special Tuesday night for those who are watching live. For those
Indeed.
who are not watching live, it's whatever day it is for you. How did you know that? One of our many secrets. So, I do have Sarah here with me, so yay. And we also have...
This is Bragner. This is Forensic Inspector Bragner. You may know him from my videos, Curious Archaeology, where he goes and investigates curious archaeology. I got nothing, man.
And if you don't know, then shame on you. You should know. Because, he's dressing up for the occasion when he goes out there into the field to investigate. He dresses better than most archaeologists I know when they go into the field. So
if I knew he was going to be on camera tonight, I would have dressed him up. But this was a last-minute lap commandeering of his, so I don't know how long he'll be here.
So this was supposed to be our super happy fun episode, but with
we're saving that.
With Amma and Tom not here, we're still going to try to. We're still going to try to stay in the positive road, but we might get a little crazier, might get a little sleepier. We're still adjusting, I think. I know I am. To the whole daylight savings times.
Yeah.
So
I'm
that's
copying and pasting.
That's a bummer.
Because we have that here in the States, because the farmers and has nothing to do with the industrial complex and getting more work out of your workers.
Or there's also the other rumor on that was that was the tourism industry, big Florida, because they wanted more tourists during the summer or something like that.
Huh.
Everybody's got a reason to it, but nobody knows, and it should go away. And from what I heard, it should actually be daylight savings time should basically stick around. And it's this whole standard time thing where it's dark at 5 o'clock in the evening that needs to go away, and go away now.
I mean, I understand that we have to pick like one or the other, and I'd rather stick with the time where we have more light in the evening, because like I still have to get up in the morning regardless of if there's light or not, I don't know. I think it's stupid. I don't know anybody who actually likes it.
And typically, I mean,
So
what you
do it.
And in the morning, you're just going to work, and in the evening, you're trying to do fun stuff.
And I know every time there's a switch between the two time, because basically we're switching time zones, but when we switch like that, wrecks go up, pedestrian deaths go up, like basically anything that has to do with people driving and operating heavy machinery, like casualties go up from that because everybody's still fucking tired. Yes, I have all of your hair in my mouth. Yes.
And
Thank you.
Speaking of places where the sun isn't always around, this is my real smooth segue into Iceland. I've never been to Iceland. I've always heard good things about Iceland.
I heard it's nice.
If you're from Iceland, please message me, because I'd like to know about Iceland. It seems like a really nice place.
Well, it's this land, and it's got ice.
But that's the thing. There's a lot more like volcanoes and just sort of like fjords or the. Oh man, my Northern European fans are going to be really mad at me now.
Hiding from the fjords?
I think that's more of a Scandinavia thing. We're all in trouble now. Ooh. The hate letters we're going to be getting from Northern Europe.
I don't think so. I think they already just chalk us all up to being stupid, so it's all right. I think they expect nothing less from us.
They wouldn't be wrong.
Or more. I guess nothing more.
But before we keep going on any further, you know who's not stupid?
McDonald's?
Well, maybe.
I'm
But
trying to
Lucas, our number one fan,
Oh,
Lucas.
Lucas isn't stupid.
No, he's not at all, because he is our number one fan because he became a patron. And you too can become a patron by following the link below. And below, I mean on the screen, because it might not actually make it to the show details. That's a whole other problem. Which would be www.patreon.com/RQRPG. And you can join Lucas and supporting the show so that we can remember to write the show descriptions every time and and other things like that. So anyway,
Ragnar sticker.
and we'll make, and eventually down the road we'll have stickers and stuff.
Knock my tea over.
So
Sorry.
that was my really smooth ad break right there.
Good job.
Seamless transitions. So back to Iceland.
Yeah, so what's the deal with Iceland? Why are we talking about Iceland?
The only reason to talk about Iceland, McDonald's hamburgers.
Obviously.
So there's been news floating around over the past couple weeks about this hostile and, oh man, if they weren't already mad at me now, they're going to be mad at me.
Yeah, good luck with that.
At the Snotra House in Þykvikbyr.
Yep, have fun with that.
Behind glass in a display case in the lobby. Thankfully, this is all in English. There's appears to be a hamburger in bun, and what looks to be the medium-sized fries. This could have been the large in Europe. I know they tend to go smaller than the U.S. It's their
It probably
smaller
is
hands.
the large in Europe.
And it says, "Hello, I am the last McDonald's cheeseburger sold in Iceland in 2009. Let's have a selfie together. Make sure to tag it. Hashtag lastburgerselfie. Hashtag Snotrahouse."
Last burger selfie. That's awesome.
Yes. So, now, we're not just going to go with some random stuff. Dignified places. The Washington Post had an article on November 2nd because, got to be respectable now. The Washington Post. The cautionary political tale of Iceland's last McDonald's burger that simply won't rot, even after 10 years. See, that's serious journalism right there.
I want to see the connection. What are you doing, Matt? Stop. What is the political connection?
Well, the political connection is that 10 years ago would be 2009.
Right.
And 2009 is the year of the great financial crisis, the Great Recession.
That's true.
And Iceland was especially hit. They lost a number of major banks. They were politically, had a lot of political overturn. They were on the verge of absolute economic collapse within the country. And so that was a bad time for McDonald's to be sort of investing in the country. So McDonald's did what everybody else would do. The going was tough, and they left.
So they packed up and they left.
Yes. But not before. I want to make sure I give a proper credit to our hero of this story. I don't care about prime ministers, and these aren't the heroes of the story. Yeah, they lost a lot of money. So, on October 31st, 2009, to quote the story here, a burger forgotten on a garage shelf.
Ew.
On October 31st, 2009, marketing consultant Bjorn Smárason was
Good job.
among the last customers at the McDonald's in Iceland's capital, Reykjavik. He waited in line in front of the restaurant with other Icelanders who wanted to purchase their last McDonald's meal. But Smárason had not come to eat.
Did you even try that time?
I just went right through. Just what the key is to go with confidence. Just
To whoever you are, sir, we apologize.
please direct all the your concerns to T
RT fan,
Cuthbertson 13 on Twitter.
Because he's not here to defend
Because
himself.
he's not here to defend himself. He had not come to eat. He had read about online rumors of never rotting McDonald's burgers and wanted to put the myth to the test. He bought a cheeseburger with fries, drove home, and left the box on a shelf in his garage.
It was like, this is my last chance to test this theory ever in the existence of mankind. Therefore, my time is now.
3 years went by in which Smárason forgot about the souvenir of a bygone era. He had other problems.
Forgot about it? Like, it's not even like he preserved it. He just forgot it was there?
You know what? I sometimes I'll buy like some computer cables and leave it in another room, and I'll forget about them for a couple years.
It's not food.
I'll buy a used video game or something and never get a chance to play it and put it on the back shelf someplace. And then you're cleaning up, and it's like, oh, I forgot about this. So I can absolutely understand this. So. So.
It's food. I disagree.
I mean, he should have eaten it because apparently during the financial crisis, it hit him hard. He lost all his savings.
Oh my God.
My clients were going bankrupt. And he was just trying to hang on to his house, which happened to have the cheeseburger in it.
That's true.
And so 3 years on, he was preparing to move to Copenhagen. And he came upon the meal in his garage. And he was, he was a little worried. Now, I'm sorry, that was unnecessary for you to do the accent. Especially since I think it was a completely wrong accent on top of that. I don't know an Icelandic accent. All I know for Icelandic accent is Bjork. I know it's definitely Swedish Chef. The only one I would know is Bjork, and I can't do a Bjork.
Are we allowed to make fun of other white people? Is that how this works?
I think so. I think that's the rules. Them's the rules, I think. Especially Swedish Chef. Swedish Chef is like always there. I mean, they're so polite. See, here right now I'm going stereotypes. They're so polite they will not say anything to us anyway. Going off the rails. This is what happens when only two of us are here.
I'll eat later. Sorry.
So he was worried about what he was going to find. He found the box and he's like, "Oh no, there's the burgers in there. What is he going to do?" He opened the box. He was shocked, but not for the reason expected. Contrary to the rotten remnants he was prepared for, he found what appeared to be fully intact meal. He sensed he was holding on to something historic, so he reached out to Iceland's National Museum, where the meal was put on prominent display soon after.
Iceland has so much cool stuff that they could put on display in their museum, and they pick the not rotted 3 or 4 year old McDonald's hamburger.
Spoiler, the burger is rotten. You shouldn't eat it. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
That's gross. Ew.
It's just we all have different expectations on that. But we'll get there. We'll get there. It became for a period of time, it became a national phenomenon. National Broadcast Service picked up the story. It got some visitors. In the year since, some visitor. Why would it be out in the open and not behind glass? Some visitor appeared to have mistaken it for fresh food, and some fries are missing. That's just nasty, and that's not how
Maybe
you
they
display
just wanted to see what
artifacts.
it tasted like.
That's not good museum curation. If you're dealing with a biological food product, you're not going to put it into contact with the public. That's just bad curation right there.
That's
I'm
just gross.
sorry. Shame. I know. We weren't. It's supposed to be the happy fun story. We're not here to shame Iceland. We're not.
But we are.
But we kind of are.
But we are.
In the year, okay. Now it's at a small hostel in southern Iceland, where it continues to attract tourists.
Is it at least behind? Well, yeah, you said it was behind glass there now.
Yeah.
Oh my god, can you imagine what that smells like?
He still visits the burger regularly. The owner of the hostel.
That's
Only
weird.
the paper's wrapped and starts to look a little yellow. All right.
That's weird.
So that's sort of that. I mean, the middle of the story, the big long part, was mostly about the economic crisis and how Iceland was devastated.
Right.
But it ends on the up and the beat note of this McDonald's cheeseburger.
How do you sell that to your country's museum? He-Man, I got this burger and fry from McDonald's that I bought some odd years ago. You want to display it? Sure, man, bring it over. Lord. But it is interesting. One of the really interesting things is that it became an artifact, and we were talking about this a little bit before the show, was the whole creation, the modern creation of artifacts and making an item. Well, I mean, anything that human hands create is an artifact, because that's the definition of what an artifact is. It's material culture. But becoming an artifact of significance is interesting. It's a process that happens because it happens to things that are not necessarily always meant to become an object of significance, like a burger and a large fry from McDonald's.
It is hard to sort of not go past the laughing point of it, but that's the point. I mean, in the same point we're laughing about this now is the way someone in the 19th century would be like, you know, that pipe you're smoking, which is
Right.
like the thousands of other pipes that are like everybody has around the city, that's going to be important one day.
Yeah. You know those wig curlers that you've got? We're going to puzzle over those for a few years, and then once we figure out what they are, we're going to put them on display. This is the most mundane things, buttons and stuff. And they become object. When I say an object of significance, I mean it has moved beyond just being a token of material culture to becoming almost like a spirit receptacle. Like it has meaning beyond its form. You know, this is my grandfather's watch. This is, my grandmother's sewing box. That kind of a thing.
I mean, we would say it kind of like it signifies a time and place. Like
Yeah.
this McDonald's cheeseburger is emblematic of the economic crisis, which almost brought the entire world to to a second Great Depression, just 10 years ago.
It did go into a depression.
Recession, depression, tomato, depends on who was saying what.
Yeah. I mean, economically, it was a depression. But,
Yeah.
I know.
But when you call it a Great Recession, which has never been used, that term has never been used before. See, it's all about marketing.
I have to market the depression.
Yes.
This is
See?
why we had a depression.
No, we have recessions. See, I'm now going to re-energize the healthcare industry.
Oh. Yeah. We're not. I'm sorry you're sick in America. That's the only thing that, like, every time you're telling us stuff, I'm just like, I'm sorry you're sick here. Like, the best thing for your health would be to not be in America.
Would be in Iceland. I'd be better off in Iceland right now.
You would be very much better off in Iceland. I hear they have excellent healthcare there.
Just no McDonald's though. So I mean,
Probably
you know
why
what, though? That's a tough call. That's a tough call. That's really a tough call. So
Healthcare, McDonald's, healthcare.
So this kind of also goes along with a theme we've touched on a lot in some of our previous episodes when we start talking about sort of the woo and pseudoscience stuff.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a just so story. It's kind of like an urban legend.
It-
Because
it-
this story
it's
of the
exactly
McDonald's burgers that doesn't rot isn't unique to this story in Iceland. There's stories in Canada, there's stories in the US, there's stories all over the world. And a lot of it has to do with why a lot of those kinds of stories happen. Is that the general public has an understanding of science, you know, a general understanding of science from your lived experience.
Right.
But it's not necessarily a complete or necessarily a full experience of that. So we know things rot. We see
Right.
that.
Right.
If if a squirrel has been run over by a car, you will see the rotting process out there in the middle of the street.
That's an interesting. Yes.
Leaves are falling here in the fall in North America. You are seeing those leaves decay. That is rot taking place there.
You know, a lot of people don't see that though because it gets swept up.
Fair enough.
No, I'm just saying, like, a lot of the examples you're giving, like, it actually kind of goes towards the example that you're trying to build. The whole, like, yeah, we see things fall. We know that things are dead, but we don't see the full process of the decay happening. So we don't understand the science behind putrefaction and that kind of stuff.
Okay, one example everybody knows. You left that cheese in the fridge too long. Or that bread in the freeze too long. And that little green stuff starts growing on it. With stinky cheese, you can just cut it off and keep going, but most other stuff, it's not so good.
I don't know. I know people that eat the moldy bread, so I hear it's fun.
To each their own. So what's happening with these McDonald's burgers?
That
All right.
never eat.
And the McDonald's fries. Well, I have first-hand knowledge of the McDonald's fries because in my first car, liked to eat in my car a lot, and then when I tried to clean out that car to sell it, I found a lot of French fries that looked exactly like that one in the pictures, which will remind us to put that on show notes so you can see it as well.
Excuse me. Yes, I'll remind you to do show notes.
I need somebody else to do show notes.
You just take what Alma's got and just cut and paste.
Or just have Amma do it. See, but everyone's not here. They're just getting all the work.
Poor Alma. She's the only adult that we have. We shouldn't scare her off.
They're just getting all the work.
Poor Alma. She's the only adult that.
Tom gets picked on, and Amma gets the work. It's not fair to either of them, but that's what they should have been here.
You should have been here. We're counting on you to be the adult in the room.
So basically, with McDonald's hamburgers, and specifically, if you ever notice the French fries and the burgers themselves, especially the hamburger, they're never doing this with like the quarter pounder. They're always doing this experiment with the hamburger.
Just the plain old hamburger.
Because the hamburger is thin. The fries are thin. There's not much water in those things. And what we need, and it's the title of our show, taphonomy, that's the big fancy science word we use to describe this. Well, actually biologists and microbiologists use it, and like everything else, we archaeologists borrow from other fields.
We do.
But taphonomy is the process by which things change over time. especially organic things, will change over time. The process of decay and so forth. And it's not just the rotting; it's also animal use and things like that. But specifically, with like a McDonald's burger, and why you're not seeing rot, is that what the rot you're looking for are microbes, and microbes are like people, and that's why I put in the show notes or in the chat right now an article from Business Insider from 2016, which sort of does a good job of explaining the process that's going on there, and it's the lack of moisture. There's just not enough moisture for the microbes to really latch on and doing that by this person keeping it in their garage for 3 years. It's a garage in Iceland. I'm also sure as it was probably very cold for a long period of time. That's also going to be a hard environment for microbes to grow in.
You're just assuming that. You don't know.
Well, I haven't tested it myself, to show what kind of actually. There could be different kinds of. You're absolutely right. There could be different kind of bioorganisms working on those materials right now, which is why I would not want to eat that burger.
In Iceland.
No, I do know it's cold there. They always showing pictures of people out in the ice and snow and stuff. It could be just marketing, though. It could just be marketing.
Damn that marketing.
That is very true. So that's why we thought it'd be a nice little fun thing to talk about. Is that it's sort of playing on well, I could creep everybody out. No, I won't do that. I'll just tell the story. So I first learned about taphonomy in my one of my intro classes, and in that class they showed us a video.
You're right. That's terrifying.
It was a video of a pig skull left out on the floor of a forest.
Oh, yeah.
And because when you find bones on the ground, you're not always going to find a complete carcass. Sometimes that carcass is going to be torn apart by scavengers and so forth like that. And there are going to be pieces here, pieces there. And you're going to look for the chew marks on them, and there's a certain order in which the scavengers come in. Sort of the bigger ones come in first, then the smaller ones, and of course the microbes are the kings who are there the entire time. But this particular video is truly horrifying because the main large mammalian scavengers of this was I don't know what to call a group of squirrels.
What is a mob?
Maybe a mob of squirrels, but this was a mob of squirrels, and this was on time-lapse photo. So it's just you see the head being drug around over time, and the squirrels dragging it, and they are just ripping this carcass apart over a series of about a week or so.
Yep, they like their meatsies.
And it's not the cute little squirrel who wants a little nut for winter, or is trying to steal your potato chip when you're on campus and trying to eat your lunch. This is a vicious, pack animals just tearing apart the corpse of a pig.
A group of squirrels is called a scurry. So you watched a scurry of squirrels make curry of a pig skull.
And
welcome.
Especially when they started, once they got the eye out of the way and they would start going through the eye socket to get into the interior.
Where all the deliciousness is.
Well, yeah. It's all the best bits. So, Google that at your own peril, but I'm not going to share that.
That's not the one I've seen. The one I've seen was just pig skull left out in the woods, and it was just one of those watching the bugs come in, and it bloats and it shrinks and it bloats and it shrinks and it starts to fall apart, and because of course it has to be watched at 4 million speed, so everything's happening in seconds.
And that's what I was expecting to watch, and then the squirrel showed up.
That's crazy talk, man. Squirrels, they're evil. They're like dolphins and geese.
That reminds me, I gotta play that game.
I do too. You know, another game. Here we go. Completely not a topic we were going to discuss. What is this? Death Strand? The new
Death
game that's out?
Stranding? Yes.
Yes, I want to play that game archaeologically. It sounds like a really good post-apocalyptic archaeology game, kind of harkening back to the zombie conversation we were having about like the archaeology of an apocalypse. I have no idea what this game is about, but just the little things that I've seen people throw up on Twitter and Instagram now, I'm very interested to sit down and watch somebody do a playthrough and then actually maybe get hold, because I don't have a console, I only have a laptop, so I don't think it's been released for computer yet.
It's going to be, but it hasn't been yet.
Yeah, I think they're putting it on Steam. I'm not positive. But I think when they do, if it's not some ungodly amount of money, I might figure out a way to play it and just kind of observe it archaeologically, you know?
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I was, hopefully, tomorrow I was going to start The Outer Worlds. It's been out for about 2 weeks now. It's kind of like a Fallout type of game, but it's in space. It's from the people who made Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, neat.
I'm halfway through the game on the Xbox, but since I have the Xbox Game Pass, it also allows me to download it on my computer.
Nice.
So I might stream that. Now, I might throw it over in the Archeo Thoughts. Actually, I probably will throw it over in the Archeo Thoughts, because I'm not sure how archaeological it is, as opposed to an experiment on, like, political theory and things like that.
Well, I played all the way through What Remains of Edith Finch, which the only reason I picked it up was because everybody was like, oh my god, it's a great game about how archaeology uses the context of artifacts to solve, you know, to create a story and solve the mysteries of a site. Let me tell you what, beautiful game. It really was a very beautiful game.
Yes.
It had a really interesting, it was almost interesting, you know, it's like I really wanted it to be going somewhere, and then the end of it is a huge letdown. At least
I like the game a lot, but I see that
it's something out of your nightmares, I promise. And there are a lot of things in the house, and you can look at stuff, but you can't interact with anything unless you are supposed to interact with it. Like, you can't screw the game up.
It's a walking simulator, so
yeah,
it's a visual novel you get to walk through.
Yeah, but you can't examine anything really, really close. But I did do a lot of, like, looking at the book titles, because there's books everywhere, trying to figure out more about the story than we were given. I feel like maybe it was a really good, like, proof of concept game, and I'm really hoping maybe there's another game coming out that's basically this game expanded. But I'm not really sure, like, where people were getting what they got out of the game.
It's from the story, because there's a whole genre of these kinds of sort of walking simulators.
Yeah, I was really disappointed by the overall story. I'm not gonna lie. It just has colored my opinion of the game.
So I see in our chat we're getting some descriptions on Death Stranding.
Oh, good. Who's here?
It's
That's my sweetheart.
Yes, it is.
You're a FedEx employee, but it's an apocalypse and ghosts and monsters exist, and you still have to deliver things, and you have to drink Monster energy drinks. I love that you put the trademark after that.
Of course, I mean, we don't want to be violating that. Not even in chat.
Monster energy drink is in there. I remember seeing screenshots of that, actually. Somebody was commenting on how ingeniously they marketed inside of the game. And the screenshot that I saw was the Monster energy drink. So I guess there's other things as well. No, I've not seen the starfishes eating the whale carcass, but you were able to watch the whale carcass. I think you can still watch the whale carcass being devoured. the whale fall, I believe it was. But they're back to our taxonomy. I'm educated.
Yes. Taphonomy.
Yes.
It's science. Remember, fast and confident. Doesn't have to be right.
Did you say the enchantment? Yeah, I totally said it before I picked up the book. But yeah. So yeah, if people want to go watch the whale fall, I'll see if I can't dig out I'm not going to do it right now because that's the kind of person I am. But I think it's even cooler that you're a FedEx employee and you have to deliver packages because you are basically moving material culture around. I think that would actually make it even cooler as a game to play with the archaeological eye.
And that might be, because I'm sure it's probably like really weird, petty fetch quest that fills in the game.
Apparently there's some joke about how you can just load yourself up with packages and fall over and then damage everything that's on you. These are just things I've caught. Just little clips I've caught. I haven't sat down with the game yet at all.
It's on my to get to at some point list.
Well, it's the big thing right now, so that's the only reason I'm aware of it.
Until Pokemon comes out this week. See, this is the time to do it because everybody else in Archeo Gaming, I'm sure, is going to dive right into that Pokemon this
Why?
week. Because they all appear to be like under 35. So
I was going to say, what's so special about this Pokemon?
It's the new Pokemon.
Don't they come out with one of those like every other year?
But this is the new one on the new console.
I give up. I don't know. I can't follow Pokemon. It's too much. It's just too goddamn much. I got the Game Boy Yellow the Game Boy Color when it first came out with the yellow Pokemon game cartridge, and I specifically got it because A, it was yellow and that's my favorite color, and well, it's one of, and two, it had Pikachu on it, and I adore Pikachu because he's yellow, and that's it. Like, that is the extent of my Pokemon experience, except I play Pokemon Go, and I'm not even good at it.
Well, it's still better than mine. I think I played OG Pokemon on the first Game Boy, and I was bored because there was no story. I'm like, you really are just walking from place to place and just having random fights?
You gotta catch them all, man.
This makes, a Final Fantasy grind seem engaging.
Yeah, I don't like grind games. I don't. I say as I play Merge Dragons, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of games that like the only premises is that you just go and grind, which I think was my biggest problem playing No Man's Land. And I need to update my game because I know they dropped another huge update, but
yeah,
I got it when it originally came out. Like, I was one of the first people to play it on PC, and yeah, that's what that game was. It was just a grind game. You just went, and you couldn't interact with anyone else.
That was definitely the problem early on.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked that, but there was no interaction with anything. And this is how stupid I am. Then when they did do the update where you actually had to start interacting with the alien species that they created, because you had to like do commerce and you had to hire them to come work in your home bases and stuff. And this was, I think, the first big update they did back in the day. I actually was annoyed that I now had to talk to the aliens, or like I have to be friendly with them because they wiped all of my language. Like, one of the big things in the first game was, the first iteration of it was that you learned the language when you interacted with the different alien species. But then when they did the update and you went to go talk to them, you just automatically all spoke the same language.
That's no fun. That kind of dumbs it down.
Yeah, it was like, why am I bothering to learn the language then if it doesn't matter? So, yeah, I was a little annoyed by that. because I'm an archaeologist. I'm gonna learn these goddamn words. I want to use them. Yeah.
And I think we're.
I'm checking the feed here.
I'm checking the feed. I'm also checking like Twitter to see what's on Twitter. You know, the last bastion of the content. What is people are talking on Twitter right now? So,
if you want more content, I can talk about Divic boxes and paranormal archaeology because that's what I do with my life.
Yes, I actually do. I want to find out what is rotting your mind.
So, long story. I had a guy threatening to sue me for trademark infringement via the DMCA, which, yes, I know those two things do not coincide. But it did cause me to put my regular blog up behind a blinder for a little while because I needed to clean some things up. It was fine. I needed to do maintenance on the site anyway. So while I was doing that, I actually realized that I wanted to talk about various topics, but I didn't necessarily want them on the main Archifantasies blog. So I created 2 sub-blogs, and I'm thinking about creating a third on giant archaeology, but I don't know yet. But the first one I named Paranormal Archaeology, and the second one's named Ancient Aliens Archaeology. And they're topic specific. So like paranormal archaeology deals with paranormal. The aliens one obviously deals with aliens. So on the paranormal one, I launched it on Halloween because duh. And one of the first things I looked at are these things called Divic boxes. And the focus of the paranormal blog is actually looking at the paranormal archaeologically. So I'm looking at the material culture of paranormal. And that includes things like haunted objects, spirit containers. I'm also going to be looking at haunted sites. I'm actually figuring out how I'm going to get out to Penhurst because I live in this state. So I may as well go.
It's not that far from you.
It's not, and I think it has like limited tours, and I know that they allow people to go in and ghost hunt. So my thought is I need to figure out how all that works exactly, and then be like, you know, here's my pitch. I want to do an archaeological survey, pedestrian, not non-disturbance. I mean, I'm not going to dig. Be amazing, but I'm not going to dig. But I just want to kind of go and do like a pedestrian survey, use some, you know, non-destructive survey methods.
And it might be worth a trip to Harrisburg to see if what surveys have already been done there.
Mm-hmm. And Harrisburg's just a neat city anyway. And I mean, I kind of did this stuff before with the Curious Archaeology videos that I did for a class last semester, I think it was. And you kind of just go look at it with an archaeological eye and then assess what's being said, but then look at the evidence at the site to see how that's being used in a paranormal perspective. I know I'm sounding all professorial right now, but basically I'm looking at how people create the paranormal.
So you were trying to do what we were hoping we were going to be getting out of our last book series when we were reading Evil Archaeology. I think when when I first picked it up, I was hoping it was going to be that type of stuff. That's what I wanted. Didn't want to go into a woo fest until we were already sort of all committed to it, and I'm like, oh man.
A woo fest that had absolutely nothing to do with archaeology. Yeah, I will say the book Evil Archaeology was the kick in the pants. I've always been interested in paranormal stuff. I'm a Scorpio, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe any of it, but it's really fascinating to me. And I mean, who doesn't like a good ghost story? But reading her book and seeing that it had nothing to do with archaeology, but that's how she sold it, really kind of ticked me off. So I was like, you know what, I can do better.
And actually include archaeology.
Yeah, and actually use archaeology to examine the paranormal. Um, and it's actually working out really well. Anyway, the Divik boxes, I think, I thought would be a good way to start, because the Divik boxes are an incredibly recent phenomenon. They did not exist before, I think it was 2003, when the first one was sold on eBay. And from there, the idea of the Divik box really kind of took off, and it's nothing. Divik is a Jewish word, which is to describe a spirit that has possessed a living being. And I guess most commonly it's a male spirit possessing a woman. So it's an actual thing in Jewish mythology that does exist, but there's never been an account of Diviks possessing inanimate objects like a box, or being forced into an object like a box. And so this concept of a Divik box really took off. People didn't really do their research about these things. And of course, the legend behind the Divik box, all of its owners have had unexplained health problems and bad luck and nightmares, and each person who gets it feels evil emanating from it, and yada, yada, yada. And so the original Divik box is now in the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, and I can't remember that guy's name who owns it. He's the annoying one from Ghost Adventures.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll have it memorized by the end of the month, but I do remember Ghost Adventures, and he drove me nuts. But that's okay. He has more money than I do, so shows who won that race.
Well, he has a haunted box and you don't, so I think you won.
Not lying. I kind of want the haunted box. So, but if you go on YouTube, you can find all these videos of people buying and then opening, of course, the Divik box. Different various Divik boxes that they find, and all of them are modern, and you can tell just looking at them that they're modern creations. And there's a formula for a Divik box. All Divik boxes are roughly the size of a cigar box or like a shoe box. They all are made out of wood. They have to be made out of wood, and they'll all have some kind of weird inscription, sometimes Jewish lettering, sometimes just words. They're all usually like completely sealed with candle wax. I don't even know where that comes from. And then inside the box, there's just rando items. And depending on how much effort the person who created the Divik box went into, they can be super creepy things, or they can be just one of those Divik boxes I saw that somebody opened just has like a colored feather off of like a feather boa. It had like a cheap piece of costume jewelry, like little girls get for their dress up. And I forget what the third thing was, but it was just something cheap and plastic. And I was like, okay. But these people paid like $30 for this box. So
this is paranormal scrapbooking.
Yeah, kinda. But that's the thing, like, the Divik boxes didn't exist before 2003, and now in 2019, people are still obsessed with them to the point where they believe that they're being possessed by the demon that is inside a Divik box, because Divik has now become a term for demon in the common use of the word on the internet. And so people will purchase these Divik boxes and then proceed to have paranormal experiences after opening them, or just even having the box in the house sometimes will cause them to start having paranormal experiences, even though there's no historical precedence for this kind of an object. Here she is.
Hey,
Oh, she's on Skype. Mama's on Skype.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Are you on there? Is she with us?
Yes, she's with us.
Don't let me hold you back. Keep talking. I want to hear more about supernatural archaeology stuff.
So,
Oh no, I just kind of wanted to break and let you get logged in properly.
I appreciate it. I really like your top.
Yay! Yes, welcome to my TED Talk. I'm talking about paranormal archaeology. Anyway,
I've been
So
looking at the posts. I'm really excited by it.
so has Bloomhouse made a movie about this yet?
Bloomhouse. There's a movie called The Possession, which was originally titled The Box, which is loosely based on the original Dybbuk box. The origin story of the Dybbuk box in The Possession is mostly the story told on the internet by the guy originally selling it in 2003, who, by the way, came out on on another social media platform, I believe it was Facebook, and admitted that he made everything up.
What?
But people,
What?
yeah, exactly, like he straight made it up, and he was like, "Yeah, I made this up," and people still believe that they're getting boxes that are possessed with spiritual entities, usually demonic. So,
Do you know I've been in the same room as it?
the actual Dybbuk box,
I have. I went to Zach Bagan's haunted museum.
Zach
who it-
Bagan, that's his name. I want to go. I want to go see the Dybbuk box. Did you have to sign a waiver? Because I hear that's what you have to do.
You do. My sister's a huge fan of his show, and so we happened to be in Las Vegas for a day, and she's like, "This is the one thing I want to do." So we made time for it, and I went through it. It was worth the money. They make it a full experience. There were a lot of things that I actually found really disturbing, and they had to do more with the material that had to do with serial killers than anything else, and kind of the display and of that really bothered me. But the fun kind of spooky stuff I'm more into. I'm not what you would say necessarily a true believer, but the production level on some of the rooms for these items, really, really, really well done.
I've seen some videos of people doing walkthroughs. I think BuzzFeed has one, and there's another one from some daytime talk show. They did a walkthrough as well, and it looks very campy. It looks really campy, and then you realize that some of this stuff is real. Like I think the one that really, on both videos, that really bothered me was the Kevorkian van. Like, I felt like that was being horrifically disrespectful to his patients and to the whole thing that he was trying to do. But
yeah. No, I think
he
you hit the nail on the head on that.
There, yeah. But I couldn't tell from the videos if they were real or not.
Yeah, no, there's like it is like I said, it's a good mix of the kind of paranormal as well as his obsession with serial killers. The other thing that I thought was slightly in poor taste was he also collected things that related to celebrity deaths, and it became a very kind of morbid, aspect of it. But it is well worth somebody in heritage studies or museum studies to take a look at this place and really kind of understand it. But it does have that elevated carnival funhouse style aspect to it. I think Bagan kind of knows that and plays up on it. So there's something to be said for the showmanship of it, but there is a lot that not only, it doesn't just skirt a line, it definitely crosses a line.
It looks like it. But he has, like, I want to see the original Dybbuk box, and I also know that he has Robert the Doll.
It's
Creepy looking
sailor one.
Yeah, it looks like a sailor.
There are parts of the museum that are literally, they feel like you're at a not an estate sale. What am I thinking of? One of those big market mall flea sales, indoor flea sales, where there's just so much to look at that you could very easily miss something that, might have a backstory to it. No, he had, in one of the rooms I recall, they had the one doll, she's female, and you're not supposed to look her in the eyes. And they've got one of those radio machines. I forget what the exact ghost hunting term for it is, where they turn the radio on and you ask questions of the doll. And yes, yes.
She's supposed to be at a different museum.
Maybe it's not her, but another one.
Might be another one. I don't know. The Annabelle doll is at the is it Williams's? I can't remember. It's the man and the wife who did Amityville. They were there, the psychics investigated Amityville. They have Annabelle. But there's a lot of evidence that shows that Annabelle may actually be a creation, kind of like the Dybbuk box, based on a combination of Robert the doll, who is apparently the first well-known possessed doll, and the Twilight Zone episode with the Talking Tina, the old black and white one with the Talking Tina doll. I don't like you very much, and then she like. So there's a lot. I want to meet Robert the doll because I want to meet Robert the doll, and I'd like to go see Annabelle as well. Among the other bric-a-brac that appears to be in the other museum, not Zach Baggins.
I wonder if Robert came in after we left, because I don't remember seeing him. I'm looking at pictures of him now, and he doesn't look familiar to me, and I swear something like that would stay with me. But like I said, there were definitely parts of it that were really morose, and I remember walking away feeling really conflicted with the whole thing. But I do think there is something to be said for the way we popularize these items on TV and through movies, and how it kind of creates this cult of wanting to go see this movie and give these items, so that it's more about their celebrity and their fame necessarily than their paranormal or lack thereof status.
But there are people that truly believe in anything. But they truly believe that these items are haunted. I want to say haunted more than possessed.
Yeah.
Because there's this whole, with Annabelle, there's this whole etiquette that you have to follow on. And from the sounds of it, he's got at least one other doll there, and Robert's the same way. You're to approach them respectfully. You're not to make fun of them. I think with Robert, you're not supposed to make eye contact with it. And
it was the same thing with the doll we saw at Zach Baggins as well.
Maybe it was, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if you can make eye contact with Annabelle or not. I don't remember. I know that just images, and this is the other really interesting thing with both the Dybbuk box and the two dolls, just images of the items are supposedly supposed to produce paranormal responses. So like if I, sitting here at my computer, were looking at a picture of Annabelle, I could have negative experiences occur, paranormal negative experiences occur around me because of the image. And there were people that believe that about the Dybbuk box as well. And so I think that's an interesting crossover between, the artifacts and it shouldn't be viewed by certain people. It shouldn't be out in the open, and the spirit inside the box can travel through its images. And it does kind of harken back to the idea of actual sacred objects that, a lot of tribes don't want pictures taken of them. They don't want them put on display. It's out of respect for the spirit that resides inside the object. It's kind of the same mentality. I'm not saying it's the same thing on any stretch, but it's the same kind of mentality that the spirit of the haunted doll or the haunted object can be offended by having its picture observed on the internet and react to people through that,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an interesting sort of like, how, partial priming of the audience.
A lot of priming.
It's part of the performative aspect of this whole thing. I think there's definitely an opening there to sort of do a comparative among at minimum three different time periods.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of these contemporary stories. They are neo-Victorian, so go right to the Victorian stories.
Hey, the doll.
And then go to maybe like, you know, folk magic of, like, if you're staying in North America, of the 17th and 18th century folk magic that was brought over, or in the early modern, carry over Europe, or go beyond, or
I think it's
or jump right into reliquary with the with Catholicism.
it's totally like the reliquary kind of thing. I don't want to call them relics because that specifically means
Right,
an
that's
item with human remains in it.
right. Not all of
Um,
the, and some of these modern ones do, but not all of them. Most of them don't.
the ones I'm looking at so far don't, but I know that there are some that do. Um, I don't want to encourage people to start making objects out of human remains.
No, that's our number one rule here on the RQRPG channel. Don't mess around with human remains.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure we
it's
said
not
that on episode 1.
Oh.
it's not because I'm like worried that people are going to get possessed or haunted, or maybe I should be saying that. But what I don't want is to see people trying to enhance the creep factor of whatever they're creating by just throwing in human remains, because it's disrespectful in general to people. I realize the person is dead, and no, I don't believe their spirit inhabits the bone. That's my personal opinion. But I do think it's incredibly disrespectful in general to do that with human remains. That's my soapbox, though. It's always been my soapbox. So, but I don't know, it's interesting watching people create objects. Just, you know, things that they think are magical, haunted, spiritual objects. It does kind of harken back to like Wicca and pagan magic, because I know that there's the whole concept of sympathetic magic and the use of candles and sigils and runes, and you make an item and imbue it with power by doing a certain ritual and then engraving on it certain signs and symbols, and that makes it, you know, it can take it from being, you know, a piece of wood to now being a totem. It's the same premises, but you're also aware that that thing was just made, you know? Does any of that make sense to anybody, or am I rambling?
No, I think we're tying everything together. The whole I think we now have a solid theme. The theme for this episode is the creation of artifacts.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. It's a creation of an artifact, because once you've created a ritualistic object like that, through he's watching DC. But once you've created a ritual object through even just modern paganism, you know, it's no longer just a lump of melted wax. It's now a token, a totem. You know, harkening back to the McDonald's sandwich. Now that you've and forgot it in your garage for 3 years,
and it's no longer available in the country, all of a sudden this has importance.
The commodity. Yeah, exactly. Voila, artifact.
So speaking of which, Amma, did you missed out on the entire McDonald's conversation? Was there anything that you were like, I've been sitting around for the last week wanting to talk about this with the McDonald's thing, and I need to get it off my chest?
No, I think I was actually more interested in where the conversation would go. I kind of picked it as a conversation starter, so I'm a little sad I missed it and to see where you guys went for it. But that's what replay is for, and I'll always go back and I can take a look at it for sure.
You can start putting together the language for our eventual apology letter to our Northern European fans.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah,
no.
That's what they get for using vowels as consonants and consonants as vowels.
Oh, no.
I might have tried to pronounce some words. I might have tried to throw an accent on once.
Oh, well, no, it happens to the best of us, and I've been out that way, and I know my own pronunciation is lacking, so hopefully there will be a lot of leniency when it comes to that.
You'll notice I didn't even try, so.
Mm.
Just confidently bowled through it like any good American would. Just,
Now, can I totally turn the conversation really back around really quickly, since we were talking about creation of objects and artifacts, and also point out, I don't know if we discussed about this, the idea of capitalism and how that impacts the kind of creation of objects. I know within when you look at Zach Bagans' museum, a lot of that is about creating, an atmosphere that enhances that experience. And in some ways, it's taking these myths that exist elsewhere with Annabelle and kind of imbuing it into Peggy the doll, which also relates back to his TV show. And not to say that that's wholly why he's motivated, but if you look at a lot of these objects and the way that they're displayed, there's still something about money involved in a lot of them. How can we make this movie? How can we make this book? And it even relates back to, I think, who is it? It's Holtorf who talks about manufacturing pastness, as well as I know he discusses briefly the idea of Imagineering at Disney and how we kind of create this sense of this environment where we can let our imaginations run wild. And again, I don't want to downplay the actual spiritual and or emotional connection that people have to these objects, but there is something in this modern age where I do think as well we need to address the fact that how is that also going to impact us down the road and our pastness and our current material culture, this idea of capitalism as manufacturing things for these experiences.
It's funny you bring that up because Chris Capel, I hope I'm saying that right, Caple, he wrote a book for Routledge called Objects, Reluctant Witnesses to the Past. And part of his thing in there about, we can't understand an artifact until we understand the history of the artifact, goes back to manufacturing and the how and the why the item was manufactured and how the item would not even exist were it a lot of times for basically for capitalism. I think one of his quotes is people like stuff. We surround ourselves with stuff. People like stuff. And, he's right. I mean, look around your house. Not to be like crass, but even homeless people have stuff. It's how we build an identity. And, we are the ones that put emotion into an object. Like, for example, my coffee mug, it's from Jungle Gyms. No one gives a shit. But this happens to be one of my favoriteest mugs ever because it's orange and it's from Jungle Gyms, and I have really positive emotions towards Jungle Gyms. And so every time I drink out of this cup, that's one of my favorite colors and it's from one of my favorite stores, it makes me happy because I have that emotional attachment to it. If I give this cup to like a rando person on the street, they're going to be like, thanks, and just maybe throw it away because it's just a coffee mug,
But if you said it was a haunted coffee mug.
I make that point with a grocery store because I'm talking about sites. And I'm like, everybody's always excited about the old, ancient, decrepit looking sites because, ooh, spooky. But if I tell you that the grocery store down the street's haunted, you're probably suddenly interested in the grocery store down the street.
I think that's definitely right.
You just add ghosts.
But it's also interesting now, though, that you do have like historic sites that are playing off of that as well, too. Back home in Pennsylvania, my sister loves going to the Penn State, the Penn State Penitentiary, where they do a huge, Halloween affair and play on that. And it's not just that as well.
I think it's called Ghost Tourism. I just downloaded a book on that too. Haunted Heritage: The Cultural Politics of Ghost Tourism, Populism, and the Past. It's by Michael Hanks. I'm sorry, that's Michelle. That's Michelle Hanks. I apologize. Wow. Good on me.
see, we should all go find our local haunted tour thing. I know I got a couple near me.
Yeah, that'd be actually kind of...
We should all go in our local assignment and have an episode on that.
Yeah. Anna probably has some really cool stuff around her.
Now that I think about it, I don't think I know of any in Japan.
Oh, I will find you some because trust me, all the weird shit comes over here. You have to go to the penis park.
I missed out on the penis festival in Nagoya when I lived there. I'm kicking myself for it. But Japan does have a really robust tradition of haunted house affiliated with, of all things, festivals, and often with the summertime, because it's that idea of telling ghost stories creates like a chill.
Huh. That's interesting. I always wondered why they told ghost stories in the summer.
Yeah.
Free
Yeah,
air
there's
Spooky. I feel like Japan has a different relationship with the paranormal on average than America does, just because it seems to still be part of their culture, whereas here it really didn't take off until the Victorian era, so it's still relatively new. And a lot of the opinions people have of what is paranormal and how ghosts work and why hauntings happen, a lot of that is still Victorian era theology.
To be fair, I don't want to counter you necessarily, because I think there are a lot of these folk stories that do predate kind of our quote unquote, like modern age in Japan. However, there has been some work done on the idea of the introduction of studies of folklore in Japan and how studies accumulated these stories and helped popularize them, whereas they might have been localized in the past to certain regions of Japan. You now have, certain creatures that are kind of considered, part of Japanese folklore, where in the past they would have been, oh no, this is specific to this region. And it's because of these studies that occurred once Japan kind of opened itself up in the mid 1800s, that you start to see this, I don't want to say universalizing, but this spread of kind of a quote unquote Japanese folklore.
It's similar to the phenomenon that happened in Germany with the Brothers Grimm and those folklorists.
Again, we've seen it back to the Victorian era.
German language stuff, and then all of a sudden became a pan-German folklore.
There's a really great book, and I can't remember the title of it. I'll get it, and maybe we can post it up later on the YouTube links. But there's one that actually talks about how ghost stories were actually used to mitigate, not mitigate, but as metaphors for modernization and this kind of sense of the unknown. And it was specifically focusing on Japan itself, and I don't know if that's got a wider purchase in other stories of folklore throughout the world. But this specifically was a really great book talking about how, our scary stories that we tell, can also be mobilized in some way to deal with social change.
I've read somebody who has read that, because I remember that being quoted. I wish I could remember what book I read it out of.
Yeah, like I said, I'll get a link and we can put it in the description below any kind of video that we post up. That's the one really good thing about post-production too, is that if we don't have this information, we'll get it to you.
Exactly.
Eventually.
We'll have show notes.
Show notes, yeah.
Yeah, between watching Ancient Aliens and In Search Of, which went off the fucking deep end, so thanks, Nimoy. Well, they started off good. The first episode, they're like relatively skeptical for that kind of a show, and then they just progressively don't stay skeptical. There we go, words. So.
You know what? I wasn't very skeptical when I saw them, but of course I was like 7, so.
They predate me, so. However, the new In Search Of.
I have not seen.
It's not bad. It's not as wooey as I thought it was going to be. And again, I've only watched the first episode, so I need to watch the second one now.
Because it might follow the same route.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of worried a little bit. I think it just depends on the topic as to how skeptical they are of it. So it's like with the aliens. They both have an aliens episode, and they're the original In Search Of is rather up in the airy, you decide. Right. And the modern In Search Of was like, I really wanted to find evidence of aliens, but so far I haven't found anything. So
did you already get up to the spontaneous human combustion episodes?
Oh no!
Not.
Those are the ones that disturb me the most.
Oh wait, no, I did watch one. Yeah. I think it's episode 2. The spontaneous combustion. They're only talking about the woman though.
The woman who has nothing left but her feet.
Yeah, there's like 1 foot.
Yeah, that always creeped me out.
I don't know what's going on with those. I mean, I know I've watched a couple CSI episodes where they try their damnedest to explain it, but I don't know.
I always feel bad for the people involved in these stories because we make such myths around these things that like their photos are just everywhere now, and it's like, granted they've now passed, but it's just going to outlive them.
It is, and I mean, it's a hell of a way to become famous. The hell?
That's what we need. We need a human osteologist on here. We need to get as a guest and just pin him down and explain to us human spontaneous combustion now.
Joe, I think an osteologist is going to help you out with that because there's nothing about the bones that burn like.
Darn it, bios.
Yeah, you need a bio person to talk about human fat and wicking.
I need a bio person who's not an animal person. I don't want those animal people. Go away, animal people. No faunal people.
Don't start fights. You can't.
It's the end of the episode. This is my test to see if anybody watches.
I don't know how that goes. Never mind.
This is where I see if anybody watches to the end of the episode.
This is the smack talk section. Now we start talking smack.
Oh my gosh.
Stay tuned to the end where we just badmouth everybody in the industry.
Oh no, my internet's not working again. I'm just kidding.
No, oh.
No. I think
talking about that.
I think we're gonna wrap it up. We're at almost an hour and 20 minutes in. We went over so that I could get plenty of time in.
Yay! Is there anything you want to talk about before you take off?
Oh man, let's see. I might try to put together a really short kind of grouping of video while I collect my thoughts for an upcoming presentation I have on Breath of the Wild and archaeology. So I'll try and I can post those to my own private account, or I can try and run them through the Archeo RPG group. It just depends on what you guys are up to, but it's something.
We already talked about video games. I'm sorry. This is old news. You missed a video game discussion. You did.
What did you talk about?
Death Stranding and Outer Worlds.
Damn it! I really wanted to talk about Death Stranding too. I've been watching playthroughs. The idea of just collaborative networks and the fact that you're going to have landscapes full of, quote unquote artifacts that other players have left behind, I think is just a fantastic concept.
No. We're only talking about the highbrow stuff like the pea grenades. Yes, there are pea grenades in this game.
Believe me. I've been watching, Jacksepticeye's playthrough right now because I do not have access to the game at this point.
So is it a multiplayer game? Can you play with others?
Not really.
No.
It's more like No Man's Sky where there are others, but you have to play by yourself?
Not really. Others impact your world, but you don't actually interact with them.
Yeah, so it's like
and you can interact with other people's worlds.
Cool. No, yeah. See, when it comes out for PC, I think I'm seriously going to sit down and play it archaeologically. Kind of use some of the same ideas that we used with the No Man's Sky survey, and see if I can't apply that to the Death Stranding game, and especially now that I know about this whole artifacts from other people and networking thing, that's going to be even more fun. So I invite you to do it as well.
So there.
No, I mean, like, the more of us that do it, the more information we'll have, and the more opinions we will have of it.
Yes. So, like I said, tomorrow I'm going to try to stream a little bit of Outer Worlds. Start a game on the PC, brand new. Make it a pure Antarctic thing. See, that's my making it up to Alex. I'll be a full anarchist in my playthrough of Outer Worlds.
Ooh.
It's going to ransack everything.
Yeah, you can do that. You have that sort of mobility. It's Fallout New Vegas in space, so you do have a lot more flexibility. But
It's so, like, it's interesting to have a game where you have the option to play it ethically and also not ethically.
right.
Like, you have the opportunity to make up your own ethics. I think that's interesting in games.
The only downside I've seen so far is that they've seemed to be very bit on the nose with the whole, this corporation is an evil intergalactic multinational non-state corporation. Evil. Okay, we get it.
So all corporations are evil?
Yes.
Aren't they? Wait, I'm just kidding.
I mean, there's a discussion to be had there. Are they? Found out, like, the other day. Okay, so I know I'm taking us off track again.
No.
Was listening to NPR, so you know it's true.
That's why you have the coffee cup in your hand.
This is from Jungle Gyms. I paid $8 for it. You leave me alone. But they were talking about how some company is building housing for the homeless, but they're the ones building it, and they have control of the housing, and that doesn't necessarily make it bad. My thought was there, though, the corporate store. You know, the reason the corporate store worked and the way corporations back in the day basically maintained a slave labor force was they paid people with the corporate coin that they could only spend at the corporate store. And so your wages came to you in a form of currency that you couldn't spend anywhere else, and you couldn't exchange it for legal tender. So if you worked for the corporation, you basically lived for the corporation because your money went back to their store.
So like Facebook bucks, and you live
Libra.
in the Facebook dorm, and you live in the Facebook dorms.
Yeah.
They're like dorms. It's just like being back at college.
Yeah, well, and it's the same thing, though. It's like they create a dependency, intentionally or not. They create a dependency on the corporation because your housing is provided through the corporation. If you want food, you've got to buy it through the corporation. Your money, your currency comes from the corporation. You can't spend it anywhere else. So, you belong to the corporation until you get a job somewhere else, I guess. But like, how do you save? How do you save money? How do you, build up for retirement? And I know that's like in the past for us, at least. I don't know how it is everywhere, but we don't do that in America anymore. But then we've got these companies that are investing millions of dollars into housing because our government isn't going to do it. And it's like, on the outside, you're like, wow, that's really nice of these companies to be investing money in housing. And then you remember history, and it's like, I'm pretty sure they're not doing it out of a malicious idea to recreate the corporate store, but the ability for that to happen is definitely there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, the desire to make money is still the bottom line.
Still a corporation.
Yes.
They're like legally required to make money.
Which, if you're playing Outer Worlds, you're going to be playing around with this theme a lot because it's kind of on the nose because you're on corporate colonies.
Oh, that's cool. I like this. I like this.
And it sort of takes it that last step further, that the last bit of corporate property is you.
It's like Fallout Girl. No, wait, what was that? Crap. What was that comic with the mutated kangaroos?
Tank Girl.
Thank you. Tank Girl. At least the movie version. I don't know about the comic version.
That's a whole nother discussion for another day. Amanda went deep down that hole when she was in middle school. So,
Tank.
All right.
Tell me about Tank Girlisms.
It's now is it about the comic or the movie?
yes.
Both. Okay, good.
I only went down the rabbit hole with the movie. The comic didn't do much for me. It was not my cup of tea at the time. I probably like it a lot now.
I'm just trying to think how to frame that into a future episode so we can come back to it and give it a proper time that it needs.
Well, it is post-apocalyptic, so there is that conversation.
Do that. Yeah. Ooh, Amma can talk about Tank Girl, and you can talk about Outer Worlds, and maybe I can talk about, well, and Amma too, because she's watching all the playthroughs, and then we can talk about Death Stranding.
Yes.
We just have like the geek episode.
Yes.
Because I can.
Isn't every episode geek episode?
This is true. That one would be a lot of fun because we can just talk video games and comics and movies. Yeah. So we don't do that ever on this show.
But I would say we've been 80% positive this episode.
I've been negative this episode, except for our inability to speak Swedish or whatever it is. Icelandic.
And we might have shamed the Icelandic people. I can't tell.
You did what?
Have you seen their alphabet? No, I'm kidding.
I have a dear Icelandic friend.
It might have been projecting about the ability to pronounce their language. There might have been some projection involved there.
Yeah, we didn't even shame the haunted museum at all, really, and that has a lot of potential.
Might have a little.
No, you
and
just
capitalism.
Maybe a little squizzy. Yeah, we definitely went after capitalism. That's okay though.
Yeah,
but it's a good day when we've done that.
Every episode. I mean, we're archaeologists. We're not only we're archaeologists. We're from the anthropological school of archaeology. We should always be shaming capitalism.
Are we all Marxists? Were we all trained in Marxism?
I think we're all trained anthropologists, though. So they at least critique.
Necessarily mean that you critique Marxism. Oh no, I took a theory class.
We're not processionalists here.
There are processionalists out there, though.
I know.
Just saying. It could happen.
Keep it positive. We're trying to keep it positive. We're not talking about that.
Actually, you know what I would love to table for a future conversation?
Processionalism versus post-processionalism?
No, I'm going totally off the deep end here. But the reimagining of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie and how that exists as an artifact through memes and whatnot.
Yes. Okay, I would probably not go see that movie, but just from the screenshots side by side, yes.
But it's also the problem of digital conservation. What is the true artifact? What is a digital artifact? What is the true artifact? Or I don't have Disney Plus yet. But I heard yet there's another cut of the New Hope. Another cut of the Han Greedo scene in this particular version, because the films can't quit
really give a shit
that scene.
Han shot first.
It's Han shot first, and it's a running joke at this point.
It's not a joke. It's a fact. And see, we can totally talk about that. Historical facts being obfuscated by the manipulation of historical documents. Anyway.
Oh, and if anyone out there is an archaeologist who has been reading Dr. Afram, and I know the run is ending. See, I'm throwing this at the end of the thing because I know no one's watching this. Hell, I won't even watch this far back.
I like our show.
I know it's indie, and we really like to talk about sort of because knowing that this character is an archaeologist character made for the Star Wars universe as part of this sort of new group of characters with the new trilogy, even though she's never appeared in a movie yet, as far as we know.
Oh, that's okay.
Um,
The fan exists outside of the movies. Trust me. I'm a
but
Zan
she's-
fan.
But as a well, he's back.
Good.
But as a archaeologist within the Star Wars universe, I thought it would be an interesting discussion. Except I don't think anybody has read it.
I'm going to read it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read it. I just looked it up. I will figure out how I can get a hold of these 30 some odd books, 40 some odd books, and I will get it read.
Okay. So maybe,
Maybe it'll take me 2 weeks. There's a lot going on here.
speaking of actually,
Looks like most of it's in trade paperback. I can do this. I'm
trying to think of. Is 2 weeks? Are we going to be back here in 2 weeks, or is that with the
Well,
other
this
show?
stays the game. So
Yes,
next.
we'll be here next Thursday, the 21st. The 28th.
Oh, I'll be in New Hampshire.
Hmm?
Somewhere in New Hampshire. I don't know what my internet's going to look like just yet. Just FYI.
Okay, we'll play with that. It'll just be still digging, so if you can't make it, we'll feed in who we can. This coming Thursday is our episode 4 of Rituals and Rolls. They're finally going to the jungle. Finally.
Welcome to the jungle.
But that will also be our last episode for November, because in the 28th, the Americans will all be celebrating Thanksgiving, and I'm will be looking for not Popeyes, KFC. Well, no, that's Christmas.
No, they eat that at Christmas.
That's Christmas.
That is Christmas. No, I have a Japanese colleague who's been nice enough to invite me over to her place, and we're going to do a full Thanksgiving spread to the best of our ability.
Ooh. But please tell me for Christmas you're going to do the KFC thing, right? Because I wish I could do the KFC thing.
To kind of bring it back around in a weird way, I have not eaten fast food in over a decade now, so I will not be going to KFC.
But will you be eating fried chicken of some variety?
No, actually, our family tradition is fondue.
Nice.
But I don't know if I can find it. But oddly enough, I did find a display for fondue at my local grocery store, and I did not expect that. I don't know where the ties between Christmas and fondue are, but that's what we've always done.
I don't know. We have a Christmas pickle because we're German.
Oh, Christmas pickle.
Thank you. Yes. No, but Adam and I, because we're atheists and, we have to be counter everything, we have decided that our Christmas proper, because we celebrate Yule, again, atheists,
Heathens.
Christmas proper, the 25th, if we're not with our family, we go out and try to get KFC or fried chicken of some variety, and that's what we eat for our Christmas dinner. Well, we're both we're not Japanophiles, but we really think it's funny. I don't know how to explain it. It's not in a disrespectful way. It's just kind of we think it's interesting. Well, yeah.
Who said that? I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's better than watching Donald Duck all day.
What?
Yeah.
It's
Or White
Netherlands, right? Or Denmark.
Oh, yeah, no, Netherlands.
Here I am.
Yeah.
I'm going off. I'm ending the show with the insulting of the Northern Europeans.
What is it with you at the Nordic countries? Just screw you, Nordic countries. You're too nice. You and your Yule goat.
All right, so I think on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for tonight. We will be back again on Thursday over on our Twitch channel for Rituals and Rolls episode 4. We will be back next Thursday, the 21st, on Thursday, hopefully, for Still Digging. As always, contact us at ArcheoRPG on any of the socials over there, to reach out, show ideas, constructive criticism, other direction, I did the same thing. Constructive criticism. You like it when we insult Northern Europeans. You're really insulted and want to have equal time to, counter these claims. Then please, we will definitely give that. We are a platform of love, and so that all of our misunderstandings come from a place of love. So remember that. So
And the ability to pronounce foreign languages.
And forgive me, I'm American.
It's really all you can say.
No.
Poor Amma.
No.
All right. And until next time, keep digging. Bye.